Hello, my name is Dennis Lee, here with ARLAGames, and I am proud to present to you our first monster capture race. Monster Island was once a magnificent kingdom, but it now lays shrouded in darkness, overrun by goblins, skeletons, and trolls. However, all is not lost. Hope remains with the 11 fearless heroes who have survived this chaos, each determined to reclaim the island and confront the powerful dragon lurking in the volcanic core. These heroes must journey from coast to coast, capturing creatures of the wild to thwart their enemies. Each captured creature not only empowers them with vital equipment, but also unlocks valuable victory points. The battle for control of the island is fierce, and seizing the power is the key to ultimate victory. Join the fight and reclaim the glory of Monster Island. Monster Capture Race is a fantasy-based strategy game where players race to achieve 15 victory points by capturing monsters or being the last player standing. There are 11 characters to choose from, all that have different base stats, as well as 2 skill cards, a special ability, and unique movement dice. Characters start the game on the space denoted at the top right of their character card. The player who has most recently eaten fish or chicken will go first. Players will take turns exploring the island to capture monsters and to gather resources for the battle ahead. This includes equipment cards that will power up your character or your monsters, consumable cards that have temporary effects, or special cards that are the most impactful, and players can use these during any turn. Equipment cards include shields and swords. Swords can be used to increase your character's attack and to increase your monster's power, making it harder to defend against. Shields are used to increase your character's defense, making it easier to defend against your other monsters. The consumable deck includes cards that allow you to heal, such as Fish and Chicken. Some cards, such as Lazy Spell and Dragon Dagger, allow you to boost your rolls or weaken your opponents. When a deck has no more cards left, those chests will convert into aggressive level 2 monsters. There are 3 different levels of monsters. The power of a monster is the value that a player must reach to successfully capture or defend during an interaction. The power values of monsters are located on each corner of the board. To capture a monster, a player's attack after the interaction roll must reach the power level of the monster being interacted with. Monsters, when captured, will grant players victory points equal to the level of that monster, as well as an equipment card. This monster will attack other players that land on this space. When you land on another player's monster, you must defend. To defend, a player's defense after the interaction roll must reach the power level of the monster being interacted with. Level 2 and 3 neutral monsters will automatically attack you, so you must defend yourself before having the opportunity to capture. After you attempt to defend against a foe's monster, or when you land on your own monster, you may recapture the monster at the next power level. Anytime you fail to capture or defend, you will take damage equal to the level of the monster, in addition to losing the corresponding equipment used in that interaction. If you fail to defend against a monster owned by another player, that player will gain victory points equal to the level of that monster. The only monster that cannot be owned is the dragon. Any player that lands on Summon the Dragon moves the dragon to any space on the board. The dragon, once released from its den, will remain active, taking over the space it currently resides by removing all ownership, level, and sword tokens. Players who encounter the dragon without a way to escape will deal 2 damage and lose their active equipment cards. The dragon will remain at this location until another player lands on Summon the Dragon, allowing them to place it anywhere on the board. The steps to a turn include sunrise, interaction, and sunset. During sunrise, you may attach equipment to your character and your monsters. During this time, you may also play consumables that allow you to heal or interact with other players. Once you decide to roll your movement die, you have entered the interaction step and will begin interacting with other spaces on the board. After interacting with spaces, you will move to sunset, where you can once again attach equipment cards to yourself or your monsters, or use consumables to heal. Some abilities and cards will allow players to create multiple interactions on their turns, for themselves and for their opponents. For this example, we will be looking at the first turn of 4 different characters. The sharpshooter will go first. He starts with 1 consumable. He will enter his interaction by rolling movement. He rolls a 3 and lands on the E chest. He will use his ability to try to capture the adjacent monster behind him. He plays the Dragon Venom from his bag, increasing his power to 6. After rolling interaction, he rolls a 3 and successfully captures the level 1 monster. He gains 1 victory point, an equipment for beating the monster, and ownership of that monster. He then receives another piece of equipment from the chest he landed on. In his sunset, he will then equip the equipment that he received and end his turn. On the wizard's first turn, he receives a lazy spell as his first consumable. During interaction, he rolls a 4 and lands on a level 1 monster. Fighting the monster, he rolls an 8 on the interaction and captures the monster. He gains 1 victory point, ownership of that monster, and he will use his ability to find the card he wants. He takes the wood sword. He then moves to the sunset to equip it to the monster he just captured. He saves the lazy spell for a later interaction and ends his turn. On the vampire's first turn, she receives a 1 more try. She will then roll for movement in her interaction phase. She rolls a 0 to 3 and chooses to move 2 spaces onto the catapult. She rolls a 4 for the interaction, which launches her to the wizard. Passing the chest, she receives a dragon dagger. She now activates her ability on the wizard to deal 1 damage and to heal 1 health point. She then interacts with the space and must defend. The monster's power level is 8 plus 1 due to the sword, and she must roll a 6 to defend. She rolls a 3, and she fails. She uses her consumable 1 more try to try again. She rolls a plus, and then rolls a 3, and fails again. This time, she takes damage equal to the level of the monster, and the wizard will gain that many victory points. The vampire will now try to recapture the monster at the next level. She plays the dragon dagger, boosting her attack to 8. She needs a 12 power, and she rolls a 6. She successfully captures the monster and gains 2 victory points, because the monster is now a level 2. She will replace ownership with her own and grabs equipment. She will replace the wood sword with her new steel sword on the monster and end her turn. On the fairy's first turn, she receives a chicken for her sunrise. For her interaction, she rolls a 5 and lands on the level 1 monster. She interacts with this monster and rolls an 8 to defeat the monster. She captures this monster, gains 1 victory point, ownership of the monster, and gets a dragon sword as her equipment. During sunset, she will pay 3 health points to equip her monster with the dragon sword. This boosts the monster's power to 13. She will then play her chicken consumable to gain 3 health points. This will allow her to use her ability to move 3 spaces to attempt to capture another monster. Before she rolls for interaction, the wizard plays his lazy spell consumable, reducing her attack by 3. She must now roll an 8 for a successful capture. She rolls a 6 and fails. She takes 1 damage from the monster. The sharpshooter will now use his skill card, Quickscope, and will attempt to capture from his current space. He has a power of 6, and he needs a 2 to capture this monster. He rolls a 4 on interaction and captures the monster successfully, giving him 1 victory point, putting him at 2, gains ownership of that monster, and he gains another equipment to add to his bag. This will end the fairy's turn. Now here is an example of a more complex board state, highlighting the chaos in a developed game. On the sharpshooter's turn, he rolls a 2 on his movement. He moves onto the castle and receives a halt special card and ends his turn. On the wizard's turn, he rolls a 3 and passes the castle. This lands him on his own level 2 monster. He uses his ability and immediately gets an equipment. He will now try to win the game by leveling up and capturing his own monster. During interaction, Wizard will use the special sword special to try to capture the monster. The sharpshooter halts the special sword, preventing him from winning. The wizard will respond using his puppeteer skill. This will force the sharpshooter to attempt to capture the monster for him. The sharpshooter interacts with the monster and rolls a 2 and fails to capture the level 3 monster. This will eliminate him from the game. The vampire will now use her secret encounter skill to land on the wizard's space. This will activate her ability
which will deal 1 damage to the wizard and heal her 1 point. This will eliminate the wizard at 1 HP. The vampire now attempts to capture the monster to win the game. The fairy activates War Horn special to move the dragon onto this space. This will neutralize the monster, dealing 2 damage to the vampire and destroying all equipment, and attempt to eliminate the vampire from the game. However, the vampire will respond with the Reflective Cloak special. This sends the damage back to the fairy, which in turn eliminates her from the game. This means that the vampire is the last player standing and has won the race.
Thank you all for watching our How to Play video. Monster Capture Race is available now, hoping to become a mainstay in your collection. If you are interested in learning more on Monster Capture Race, you can find additional information as well as our rulebook on our website. If you have any questions or comments, connect with us on social media, links below.